Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I'm a social recruiting trainer and speaker. I'm of course joined. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. That's definitely not Audra, whichever side Audra might be sitting on. Today, I'm super excited that KK has stepped into the fold as an employer branding genius as well, and of course, founder of 3 Years Media. KK, otherwise known as Katrina Kibben, but it gets so confusing with two Katrinas. We tend to do KK and KC. Today, I'm super excited, even though he made me cry last week, to have Balazs, who I think is too busy tweeting at this precise Vice President of Global Sourcing at Cielo Talent, joining us on the show. Finally, I've been trying to get you on here for like a year and a half. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm shy guy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, really shy. I saw that last week. So do you want to give us a bit of background? How did you end up in the world of recruitment, Balazs?
Whoa, that was bloody accident, right?
Have we lost KK?
I never wanted.
She's not moving. Oh, she's not moving.
I just made her. Yeah, I made her frozen, right? Like that. No, so I never wanted to. I never wanted to make money, right? I never wanted to work for money. I never thought I would. You know, I always thought I would just like stay an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I started composing, I studied music. I worked in the opera house as an assistant director. I was dancing, I was singing, I was not, really badly for sure.
You have made,
but I was doing all of it. I
got squashed in a Balazs and Jim's dancing sandwich. I was stuck in the middle. I've never forgotten that. That was. I'm like, I don't know what to do here.
That's a great show. So James Fraud and me dancing in the floor. That's a great show for sure. So, but then one of my friends, and actually she was on SourceCon last week, and I tried to make a public thank you for her, right? But she invited me to. Basically, the first assignment was to, they were working for some shared services, right? And that time, back to prior to LinkedIn, that time. It was a lot of us going to universities and really like post the print, right? So the paper to the board, like it was on the wall, and because I had a few days off in the opera house, she was like, why don't you make some money? And I was like, money again, money. Who cares about money? Yeah. Oh yeah. And I remember that I was super quick. I was way too quick, and I accomplished the task, like the task for 3 days. I did it in 1 day, and I was like, yeah, well, I was just walking, and that's it. And then they asked whether I would be interested in a researcher role, and whether I have a CV. I had no clue about what CV meant, really. I mean, like, we never use these words, right? Like in the art world, anyway. But then I stayed there, for a few days, and I created a CV. I understood that you don't anymore write a CV in a way that, hi, my name is this, is my mother's name is that. My mother's a teacher in the high school and whatever. Yeah, and I stayed there. Yeah, and for a long time I thought I would become an artist, and this whole sourcing and research is just side work. It's just for like dirty money making, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I realized that I'm just enjoying it. I'm making something which is me, like which is really close to me, which is like, it's interesting. That was one of the first moments when I had to, and that might be a nice intro to the whole topic today. That when I had to reconsider the things that I thought about myself. Right, because I guess we all have some thoughts about ourselves, right? We all think something about ourselves, who we are.
Yeah.
But there are some moments when you need to change it. When you realize that no, you are not who you think you are.
Mm.
So I may just stop and I just make a theatrical pose, and hey guys, you need to tell me, because we have so many things, the chat, and I don't know if anyone is.
My lovely Steve Levy is just off on one. I don't even know what he's talking about.
Okay, that's only.
I'm trying to work out why Audra's in the side channel and not on the show. KK, how did she do that? Right.
It's all right.
She survived the bite, and she survived going to bed later from band practice. So yeah. Actually, it was a proper show. What am I saying? Band practice for?
So, Balazs, why don't you share kind of what like a day in the life looks like for you? Like, what types of work and projects do you do that people here might be able to learn from you?
Right. Okay. So I do, I do sourcing, right? So I'm a sourcing, and then you finish the sentence. So, I'm a sourcing guru, or I'm a sourcing expert, or I'm a sourcing leader, or I'm a sourcing strategist, or, so I'm not running, so at this moment, I'm not running sourcing operationally.
Right.
So I don't have, large teams of sourcers, like under me, reporting into me or whatever else. I joined Cielo to build a totally new concept of sourcing. So Cielo's proposition for me was like, hey, we do quite a few great things, like from a brand perspective. They have like a brand team of whatever, 40, 50 people all around the globe. They do amazing stuff, from a technology perspective, right? So they have their own CRM with trillions of really extra features. So it's a great stuff. They have a department of experience theory. So, like customer experience, candidate experience, all type of experience, experience economy type of things. But they didn't expert before. So they didn't, I just switch off my, hold on. I need to just switch off my messenger because someone was like pinging me. I was like, okay, no, it's short. So,
Very popular man.
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask a question just for, mind you, this is going to be on a future show as well. What do you define sourcing as then?
Right. So basically, like sourcing is pretty simple. If you think about the funnel, the candidate funnel, right? So if selection is a funnel, right? So it's like this, I think I need to do like this. Basically, sourcing is a science. Yeah.
Again.
That's right. So can you two do like this, and then I can do like this, and then it may look like
a YMCA.
It's like a YMCA, correct? So basically, it's just all about the top of the funnel, right? Yeah. So as long as we don't have enough quality candidates, like qualified, available, interested candidates on the top of the funnel, basically we face a sourcing issue. As long as, and that's super critical, and that's, I would say, probably like 60% of my job everywhere, like with every company, is to constantly educate like people, leaders, recruiters, sourcers, that as long as the issue is not on the top of the funnel, right, but somewhere below, most probably it's not a sourcing issue, right? So so if you realize that your hiring manager is always rejecting like 3 out of 4, it's not a sourcing issue, right? Well, you can request me to get back to my market candidates constantly and again and again and again, but first of all, after a while we won't have like many more great candidates, right? So it's a dangerous game. And and second, basically whatever we do, it's just like it's like it's like a thing which is constantly leaking, right? So if there's an element in the process which is like leaking, which is which is making the bad thing, right? I mean, then we have to focus on that one rather than to constantly go back to sourcing and say we need more and more and more and more and more. Because hey, I mean, we need to think about the environment, health, and there is not always more and more and more and more, right? I mean, God's sake, it's not like that, So
Steve maybe has a serious question for you, which is kind of makes me chuckle. I don't even need to go any further. But how do you set yourself up in the morning? For the day?
What was that? I amazed you. What was the question?
Serious question.
You said up first thing in the morning. Oh gosh. Wow. Okay. So I would love to say that I used to have a bad habit, and I'm not sure I was set up for a morning. But I used to have a habit that we all, I guess, have, that you've got your coffee in your mug, and then you open your phone, and then you check in a certain order you check Facebook first, and then you check Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, right? That's what you check. If you get any notifications on your blog, then you go to your blog, and then you check your emails. And that's like probably 30 minutes of your time immediately spent on like trash. So what I do, was that?
Is anyone else getting that noise?
I hear you fine,
Okay.
Katrina. Kiki?
It was you.
It's going in and out.
It was you.
Oh, really?
It doesn't matter. It's just the
Is it me?
No, don't worry. It's crowd cast.
Okay. So basically, like a week ago, I decided to like kill the notifications.
Yeah.
So basically, I see 0 notification on my phone, like except Messenger. But I see 0 notification for Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I started with Twitter because I just hate Twitter so much. I can't tell you, I hate Twitter so much. The reason why I still have Twitter is just to follow some hashtags and like to argue with British Airways, but that's all. So I really like clicked off all of the notifications, and now I've got my free morning. So it's pretty powerful.
I think attention span is something that a lot of sourcing professionals struggle with.
Correct.
Is knowing what to focus on, because there is so much you could do. It's about doing what's effective and correct.
Correct.
And obviously drives the right outcome.
Yeah, especially when you search. So when you search, it's like a monkey. Well, we've got Katrina frozen, right? I think she's yeah, okay. So it's like it's like a monkey jumping from tree to tree, right? That's the search process. So you start with a channel, you run a search, and then you run a cross reference on Google, and then from Google, I'm just doing it for a pharmaceutical company. Hey, you are back.
I was
amazing.
trying with my volume levels. I've got the echo. Sorry.
Yeah. No, tell us that you were angry because I was in the middle and you wanted to get to the middle of the picture, right? That's
I look younger.
That's your better angle, right?
No, so am I in the middle? Am I? I'm not in.
So yeah,
I'm on the right.
I see
over there.
blue,
Mine.
so who knows? We were just talking about how notifications. It's so easy for sourcing professionals to get distracted because you kind of chase the momentary notice instead of like being really strategic and
Whenever
kind of going
I have
through
to
the
put
layers.
training together, particularly Facebook training, oh my god, like you end up just going off, don't you? But as a sourcer, you want to find those like conversation starters, as I call them, but you don't want to lose hours. So how do you stop doing that, Balazs? Do you have a tip for that? Mind you, much as you're probably not doing so much hands-on stuff anymore.
No, I guess you just need to really. I mean, every time you set a process, right? So I hope so. Whenever you start running a search, you want to get somewhere, and I guess it's just too easy to get lost in between. It's just like if you I remember my grandma. It might be a weird analogy, sorry for that, but my grandma she had Alzheimer. Okay, I was living with her, and I loved her. I loved her badly, really so much. We were best friends. And and at the beginning, of her illness, she still was like going out, to meet old friends. Well, guess what? Certainly old friends. And and sometimes she just got lost in the like in between, right? So sometimes we had a policeman bringing her back to us, saying like, you should not do this with grandma because she's whatever. And it's like, yeah, of course we know that, but hey, she wants to walk out, right? So she wants to leave, so go ahead.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, with sourcing, with the research. You want to get, so when you start, you always know that you want to get somewhere, right? You want to find the information. But as you search, right, as you stalk, as you walk on the road, it's just too easy to get lost. It's too easy to get distracted. It's too easy to follow it's just to follow the route to the rabbit hole, right? And then you spend hours in the rabbit hole, and you enjoy so much because basically the reason why I enjoy it because you still research. I mean, you still search for data, right? You still opening boxes, right? You still opening doors, and it's like, wow, new information. But it's just not relevant for you, right? So get out from the fucking rabbit hole, go back to your desk, and focus on what you wanted to get.
Yeah.
And I think that's really difficult, especially nowadays when you can find basically really every type of information, and you never know that if I click on this link, maybe I will find a new phone number. But I tell you quite often, you won't find a new phone number. You just want to open that link because you are just so curious. You just want to see what's there, right? So what's in the box? What's in the box, right?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
anyway, all right. I speak a lot, and we are not even any close to this.
We'll get to
Really important topic.
Before we get to the topic, this is a yes/no question in from Audra. Will Boolean still be a thing in 2025?
Will I be still a thing, in 2025? I don't know. I say yes. I mean, certainly Boolean. People. It's just the thing that. So when we started to use Boolean, back to 2002, 2004, right? So that was, per my understanding, that was the beginning of the new era of sourcing. And we fell in love with Boolean, right? So we use Boolean for everything, right? So I told it in SourceCon last week. Was it last week? 2 weeks ago?
It was last week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Glenn Cathy named his blog, Boolean Black Belt. Irina Shamayeva, right? So she called her group Boolean strings. Everything was called Boolean, right? So Boolean was the big thing. But hey, Boolean is just the syntax. It's just like and or not, right? I mean, that's everything. So most of the IT systems, most of the computing systems are run by and or not, right? So whether this will of course it will exist, because it's just like the nature of the language. It's just the nature of a query. So it will exist. Whether we will need to memorize how to X-ray whatever, probably not. Right? Probably not. Although I still love to memorize all of these nuances because I'm old school and I'm old. But probably my daughter. But okay, I tell you a thing. So Audra, it's a thing for you. So and you guys, you tell me if I just like chit chat too much. But I love this. So my daughter, she's 10. My son is 8. And they got Xbox. You call it Xbox? Xbox? Yeah. Okay. So the game thingy. They got it for Christmas from Little Jesus, right? We say in Hungarian, you get a present not from daddy, mommy, whoever, but from Little Jesus. So Little Jesus flies into the room and brings you the present. And they got Batman, right? So the legal Batman, whatever, right? Game. And there was a certain level where they constantly really failed. So they were not able to go ahead, so to progress to the next level in the game. And I showed them that, okay, I showed them the YouTube tutorial. So then if you go to YouTube, I typed in some keywords and I found for that episode.
Yeah.
And by next time, when they failed again, when they were not able to progress, my daughter went into YouTube and she started to type in Batman and Lego and, an Xbox. And she found the next step, so she found the video. And I was like, she's 10, right? So she's 10. And I was like, how did you find that? And she said, well, I just typed in Batman and Lego and Xbox. I was like, did you type in and? She's like, yeah, because I remember it from you. Like, no, did you type it and? Like, and with English and, because she's Hungarian, right? So, yeah. And so will Boolean leave? Of course we'll leave. So, I of course, these things will leave forever, right?
I think the evolution though is going to come from non-semantics, where we start to have a database of all the keywords that are related to the keyword. We start to be able to go a little deeper right? So when we say Batman, it'll say Batman movie, Batman video game, Batman, right? And start to look at all of that. I think that's where the evolution will come, is that we'll have a bigger recognition of the association of words. So when Google says, do you really mean, it's not just misspellings anymore. It's this type of this type of that, right? And all the kind of hierarchy and segmentation.
Right. And I really think that because that's what we learned from Facebook, right? So so sourcing or searching on Facebook is really a game changer action. So that's really interesting. I try to explain why I love it, because prior to Facebook we always used keywords. So we always said, as you said, KK, right? So Batman and movie, Batman and whatever, Batman and movie, not whatever, or Batman or Spider-Man. Oh, okay, you got it. But the Facebook search is not primary built on keywords. It's primary built on connections. So there will be a new. So why is that powerful? Because basically, the mutual connection, for instance, between me and you, KK, are people, right? So our mutual network are most probably either LGBTQ people, and I try to push our topic for today, or recruiting people, right? So that's the whole point.
Our topic, don't we? We had 40 minutes to talk about that.
No, but I think all of this provides a context to talk about diversity sourcing, right? So like, how does diversity sourcing play out when we're talking about Boolean and search strings? Like, is it a different string?
And not white? Like, can you write and not white? That's really bad, isn't it? But can you, like, is that what diversity recruiting is, or like, what is it?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. So
obviously I don't actually think that, by the way, just caveat. In case anyone's thinking, oh God,
you can stay.
That was just a leading question on purpose.
Right, but that's a good question, Kiki. So and I guess the major challenge with that question is that, again, I think it's not a sourcing issue. So so diversity is not a sourcing issue, right? And the problem is that because sourcing is the very first step in the selection process, human beings tend to, like, we tend to have a tendency to push things always to the very first step, right? We love to blame the very first people who start, think about the global wars, the worldwide wars, and we always blame those who started the war. We never blame those who basically reacted to the cause, right? We never say that, like, why. We always blame every time the first one, who started. You started the whole discussion. You started the argument. Okay, so we love to blame sourcing. We love to push back things to sourcing and say this is a sourcing issue. But again, not like, I would say probably 90% of the issues are not sourcing issues, but issues coming from other elements. Now, regarding diversity sourcing, I guess the question is not really whether it's possible to search in any way diversity candidates or diverse candidate flow or candidate pool, because it is possible. But there are like many more, even more important and critical questions that we need first to answer, rather than to try to push searching females or gays or Black people or whatever type of like minorities. So, and that's why I'm saying, like, there is no such a thing as diversity recruiting, because I think that's just like,
I love that.
Yeah, insane.
You talked about the hole in the funnel, and I think that's how I think of it too. Is it's not that it's not diversity sourcing. There are holes deeper in the funnel. So from my perspective, it's the decision makers. Because ultimately, like, I can put 100 diverse candidates in front of you if the decision maker decides to pick the non-diverse candidate, right?
Right.
But I think the other part is that companies need to branch out to exist in different spaces, right? So if I always post my jobs on the exact same 3 places, I will always get the same types of applications, right? So if I go out into a different community, I can drive difference. It's not about sourcing, it's about existing
Right.
in a different perspective and building relationships.
Right. But my question is that, so if it's only us trying to, so if everyone is just like looking at us like to bring in a diverse candidate flow, right? I mean, if it's only our responsibility, I think nothing will really change within the company. Because the problem is that, like, I can talk about myself, right? Like if someone would come to me saying like, well, it's such a, we want to increase the gay funnel, right? Like it sounds really awkward for me, but anyway, we need what's that?
Or gay, happy funnel? No,
a happy gay sourcing
Friday
leader funnel. Friday,
happy, right? I'm aging myself profusely. Back in the day. One could be happy. Yeah. I do this.
Yeah. So fine, and let's say that I would accept the invite and I would join the company. But if the company is not ready, like that's the whole point. If the company is not ready to welcome me, to live together with me, then why did recruitment have to look for a more diverse candidate pool, right? So I appreciate that for instance the gender issue, right? So there are statistics that was that if you don't if you have 4 candidates and only 1 or 2 are women and the rest is man, then certainly a man will be selected, right? So you need to, out of 4 candidates, you need to have at least 3 women to make sure candidate has a chance to get hired. I understand the bias, but again, I don't think that we can solve this problem, because the problem is not with a slate. I mean, you should not manipulate a slate just to win against a diversity target. Leadership should really run diversity, and leadership should educate diversity, and leadership should really live diversity and demand diversity. And then I'm more than happy to go to Pride and and put an advert with the company's name, or to go to, I heard we heard on SourceCon, right, the company is using Tinder to attract millennials like to the company. I'm like, why not? We can use all of these applications whatsoever, right? So why not to use Grindr to attract like gay man for a job? So why not? But the primary question is not the slate, is the leadership in the company and the culture.
Boom! Yes, exactly. That's what Steve just said.
That comes into the inclusion, right? So it's all well and good to go, okay, let's just say on gender for, we're an engineering firm, we're all male, and we hire 1 female, and then she's made to feel so uncomfortable she leaves. Well, no matter the sexuality, just that, like gender alone. I mean, if the inclusion piece is not there.
So, well,
there's a company called Blendor, BLENDOOR, and they actually measure all the increments of bias within your company to help you identify how you can change your company to build a more inclusive and diverse company before you attract and hire diverse and inclusive candidates. And I think that's exactly the point you're getting at, is that it's about creating an environment that's good for people, and then bringing them in, not bringing them in and expecting your company will change,
right?
Because it won't.
Right. So I'm always saying that I don't like the words diversity and I don't like the word inclusion. However, I think these words are necessary, in a certain way of the evolution. So diversity, I think, is a word that we use when we acknowledge, when we realize the differences among people, right? So we use the word diversity to build respect, to build awareness, to build acceptance. However, diversity itself, for me, is not a great word. I don't like to be named as gay, So when when we were like chatting before this show, right? Because that's because I'm much more than just like being gay, right?
It's a lot.
Yeah. See, but there's diversity.
Sorry, I was going to interrupt and have a me moment. So it's just like running Disrupt HR. So there is somebody in the industry who is 1% of the British population and has a chip on her shoulder about all of the white male speakers. I mean, being that we're in Britain and they are in the majority, but, doesn't help herself by having the word speaker on her LinkedIn profile or Twitter so she can be found, but that's another whole conversation. But she has made me much more aware when I'm booking my speakers to make sure that it's much more diverse. But I'm doing a tick box exercise going, oh, I've got some black, oh, I've got some brown, and there's gay, and and I'm just going, what am I doing? Like, because it's really hard for me as an Australian because I've never seen it. So I find it quite tough as well. So I'm trying to, I suppose, give the other point of view. Like, how do we do it without it being a tick box exercise? Again, and you feel singled out by being called a label.
Right. Well,
right. I have been called a diversity speaker. I have never spoken on diversity, and I've been called a diversity speaker more times than I can count.
I love that.
So you get what I mean.
I have never spoken on the topic.
I was thinking to create a gray sourcing leaders group on Facebook, just to see if it's me only or what.
Can I join just for fun to put a spanner in the works? Can I be in that one? I don't want to be left out. I want to be included.
Inclusion. You need to prove,
I want to be one of the administrators. I'll go looking into pink feathers on all the men, otherwise they can't come
in. So, yeah, but on that point, so the diversity, I think that's important, that's crucial. Like that's step number one. So what you said, with like picking like people for the sake of diversity certainly is not good. However, again, it's going back to the culture, right? So what I like to push nowadays is so rather to use diversity and inclusion, just to use the word completeness, just to ask people whether they can have a complete life. And complete life means like you can be just a person, just like a human being. Can you talk about your Sunday lunch? Can you talk about your free time? Can you talk about your love? Can you talk about the way how you cry, the way how you hug? Can you talk about when you sleep together with your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatsoever? Is it easy for you? Can you talk? I think it's just much better than to say inclusion, because the inclusion again means inclusion still builds walls. Inclusion means that we normal heterosexual white people, we embrace you, Eastern European gay. I don't like that. I want to live. Oh yeah, correct. I want to say like completeness. Can I have a complete life? Can I talk about the moment when I hug my boyfriend without any fear, without any shame, without any, without like looking around and just like thinking even for a second that someone may hear it and may not like it, may dislike it. Someone may like think that it's just not.
He's annoying. Last week.
I know this feeling. I know that feeling so well. Like I can think back to the days where I changed the pronouns just to make other people comfortable, right? When I had hair down to here and like blouses, and I did not talk about who I was. And this wasn't a long time ago. This was 5 years ago.
Right.
Like this was less than 10 years ago, and I just love that like completeness, because it really is, it matters. I don't think
you're talking about, your girlfriends and your boyfriends, all this kind of stuff. And I'm still sitting here thinking about when I show up, there is so much stuff I don't share. Like I'm extremely spiritual, but like, and I don't talk about it because I don't want people to go, you talk to angels? What? Like, and I do. And it's like, I don't talk about it. And it's just this, because it's my thing. And it's, so I understand what you're saying. And I guess it kind of goes back into that finding the company that accepts you as you are. And I guess the joy of the internet is that we can search out those companies, or as KK and I've done set up on our own, just create our own space to do that, which I think is going to happen more and more. But I think you'd find actually, if you use that beautiful word completeness, I think there's a lot of people that are showing up to work and not talking about stuff,
Well, completeness doesn't mean, right, like everything, right? It means like you can. It's the ability, it's the right, it's the freedom that you can choose, right? You don't talk about, like you KC, right? You don't talk about, like your private life too much, right? You talk a lot about your dogs for sure. But we don't know too much about your private life.
Strange obsession with my dogs. Yeah, no, I don't talk about my private life very much.
Can you imagine that Sasha, when it's you and your 2 dogs, right? And and there's the 3 of you.
Actually, that makes me seem a bit weird, but anyway.
Yeah,
but even some of the conversations you and I have had, Casey, about like some of our motivations and our fears, and those are conversations that you and I have privately, right? Exactly. We would never have some of those conversations here. And to think like you couldn't talk about your family, your love, your relationships, right? Like to think that we lived our lives. I mean, for me, I lived 22 years inside this closet of fear. And it was really motivated by, for example, like my parents were military. It was illegal to be gay.
Wow. Yeah.
It was illegal, right? You would be kicked out of the military if anyone found out you were gay. And so for me, existing in that environment, that was my assumption, that you could not exist.
So hang on, now 71, 69 here in the UK, it was illegal to be gay. They could rip you out of your bed and throw you in jail. So in a way, like it's only been 60 years. No, not even.
Oh yeah.
When you start 50 years. Like I understand where you're coming from in that respect.
I mean, like I still find it pretty difficult. So because
right.
I used to have my wife, right? Well, actually, I'm still married, right? So legally, I'm still married because it's a long, long process. And we were just laughing with my wife that she was like, I told her, like with a joke saying like, like be my wife because she did a favor for me, and she's like, well, I'm still your wife. I'm still your wife. Be careful. So no, but the thing is that so there are like thousands of things, and that really like runs me crazy. And there are thousands of things that I was able and I was allowed to do with my wife publicly.
Yeah,
which I can't do with my boyfriend
because it's hungry.
And I'm not talking. No, it's like I guess it's the same everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but in globally, most countries. Well,
I live in a little micro.
Well, you live in an island.
A whole other world. There's London and there's the planet.
You live in an island. Correct.
Yeah, I live in an island. Everything is acceptable in London.
Correct. But try to do the same. Like so. And even these things are, so for instance, in London or, Paris or, in the US, although these things are legally or fine and, like allowed, you still don't see too many men walking hand in hand. You don't I mean, in London, I was just here last week and the week before, I saw zero. You go to a gay bar and you still don't see it's still, it will still take at least 20, 30 years from now to get anywhere closer, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Because, it was so lovely. I shared a story with you. So give me a second.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I just saw a comment and it was like backing you up and okay.
No, but it's really just one story, because that was so moving. So we've got the LGBTQ community within Cielo, and this whole topic is really core for Cielo. So Sue Marks, our chairman, she's probably the most powerful, one of the most powerful CEOs, really. Although she's running a not too big company, right? It's a 2,000 people company, right? So it's not not Amazon. But she's like super powerful in a way that she says, no, we stand for it. It's important for us. It's core for us. So we have this community. And recently there was a picture of our colleagues. So it was our colleague, his boyfriend, and their daughter. And they adopted, I think, a daughter. And it was written on the picture that one day this won't be called a gay family. It will be called just a family. And it's
I
know.
You're gonna make me cry twice on this thing.
But that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
When we posted, when we posted our first picture with my boyfriend and my 2 children, my boyfriend was using the hashtag rainbow family. I was using the hashtag in Hungarian, this is family too. I wouldn't think about to use rainbow family just to I just thought it was a family. But he thought it was a rainbow family, and you have to mark it as a rainbow family because it's not a normal family. And I'm like, no, it's a normal family. It's just like 2 men with 2 children. It's just normal. And not normal because there's a male man, a male daddy, and a male mommy. Is that no, stop, stop those things. It's just 2 men and 2 children. It's just normal. And so, we still need some time.
And I think UK has for years. Give Hungary time, because New York in the side chat, and it really is fine to be holding a man's hand. Nobody would you can walk around the streets naked and nobody would really notice, except for the fact that we might think you get frostbite at certain times of the year. But it is so incredibly liberal, and strangely, even though we just went through that whole gay marriage palaver in Australia's the same. So I guess I've got a completely different slant on it. I've got a 30 years ahead slant on it. And I think where you awed me, and I'll have my little totes emotion moment, is when you came up and told me, and I could feel the fear in you that I would judge you because I know I mean so much to you. And of course it was I'm just glad you're happy. I just didn't. And I think that's what we need in the world of work. We just need people to be happy for people, no matter.
You know what? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm curious how we, as leaders, all of us are, how we perpetuate these spaces for people to just exist in their joy. I know you're starting this work right now at Cielo, starting to build out communities.
I'm fairly welling up, you two.
I know, me too. I'm I did not want to
in the world of work. I've done it with Disrupt HR, and I've given people
doing it right now
permission to be. And it was one of my speakers told me that, and she just said, "You've given me permission to speak for the first time and just be, and talk about whatever I want and be however I am." And I just think if we can keep just giving people permission to be, it sounds so simple, right? But there's so much negativity in the press and so much negativity in the world of work, and I don't know, we've got to just stand up and go, can we just let people be? I'm simplifying it as I'm feeling a little emotional. I'm going to have a little cry.
The other point, so what I was thinking that,
sorry,
that's a good question from Adam, right? The answer is yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the work you're doing, though, because I would love to hear more about what you're building.
So, one of the thoughts I had and I still have is that so rather to, so companies rather to look for, so rather to point out and name and, put minorities to the pedestal, right? So in the spotlight, right? To say, this is our Black community, this is our whatever, women community, this is our gay, this is our, which is, again, pretty funny if you think about it, because there might be a lesbian, Black, handicapped woman, and then what, they need to join, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of these groups. That's not, you don't want to do that, right? Come on, you just don't, and this is insane. So rather to really talk about minorities, why don't we try to embrace the fact that we are all a little different, right? So what I asked Cielo, that why don't we ask all of our leaders to make a self-recording, a video spot, to talk about that I'm boldly different. And I'm boldly different than the others because of whatever. Oh, wow. I'm boldly different. I'm boldly different because I don't know, because I pee in my bed. No, that's
That's better than crying. You talk about peeing in bed, that's way better. exactly, Jim Stroud. Ew.
But
So are you saying I'm boldly different, like BOLD?
correct. OLD.
Maybe we
Correct.
just need to steal Cielo's video and all put our own videos out saying I'm boldly different, because maybe we all
Yeah, and and I think it's just
Stories empower.
correct.
Right? When we are honest about who we are and the struggles that we may have, we were talking about this briefly in the green room about how stories connect people. It's like you can post rainbow flags all over your website. Seeing someone tell their story will have so much more power and give you that connection where you have the human element.
Right. So Kat, you asked about that video, right? So I for this community, I created a video, right, to talk about my last 1.5 years. So the way I got to my new me. And I thought that we would just share that video, right, within the Cielo network. But then in one morning, I figured out that it just went live on Facebook, right? So there was a moment when I saw my video in front of the screen, I was like, oh my God, that's my industrial coming out. Fuck's sake, I'm sorry. Hopefully you have a beep, if you do any after work, just do the beep. Anyway,
you only said one F. Last week you said about 6 in a row.
Correct. I don't say it, correct. So, and I remember that for the first few moments, really it was moments, bro, long seconds. I had a certain a hot wave, on myself. I was like, damn it, yeah, correct. And I was like, I started to think about all the different type of Facebook friends I've had, because we all have friends who are not our friends, people who just friend us, and we say and I started to link to all of you and link to Jim Stroud, because Jim Stroud is there, right? Whoever is friended Jim Stroud, I'm in, because I trust Jim Stroud. I trust Jim Stroud. So so whenever I see, so we don't only have friends, right? But then, you think about it, that all of these people now we will see it. And by the way, because it was shared under the Cielo a Facebook page, it's not only my friend, but it's the whole world. And the only thing after the first wave, I wanted to do, I just called my wife and I sent her the link. And I told her that, hey, can you watch it? And can you tell me if it's all fine for you, or you have any difficulties, because then I will ask you to remove. But that was a big breath, the big breath when I was like, I want to do it for myself. I want to do it for my community. I think it's super important that some of us, like famous people, like celebrities, or I say it with irony, right? Fucking celebrities, people who speak on stage, who really stand up and who come out and who stand, who stand for a reason, stand for something.
Yeah.
And my wife, as always, she was superb as always, and she was like, "Yeah, go for it. Enjoy. It's all fine."
That's so beautiful.
And so I think that's another solution. I think we need more and more people who take the risk and who go for a webinar like this. And although you said at the beginning that it was difficult to get me, but especially for that reason, because.
Trying to get you fighting, man. Can I just bring out a comment here, though? It's a little change in direction, but it's so beautiful. We have to spend time together. I mean, when was the last time you had your next door neighbor's kids, who are part of our gay family, over for a sleepover with your kids? When was the last time you had your African American work colleague and his or her family over for dinner with you and your family? How often does this actually happen? It doesn't, and not until it does will things start to change. I just think that's so beautiful, Lee. Thank you. I'm getting all bloody emotional in this one. Can we have a fun show next week? Oh.
Well, it's about building your community, right? Jim makes a great point. How many people even know their neighbors?
I'm so lucky.
I do as well. And I've taken that time, though. So many people are so self-centered in their little world, right? They think they just have to kind of take. I think, honestly, too, as a minority, I feel oftentimes we kind of bring ourselves and hide in our homes. when I lived in Tennessee, I lived around, honestly, like bigots and racists. And I found myself hiding in my own home. I didn't want to go to the restaurants. I didn't want to go. I mean, that in that same town, I went to a restaurant. I sat in front of the register,
I remember you
and they
telling
did
me
not
that.
serve me. Right? And so it's hard because we exist in so many places, and I think it's hard not to go with your kind of I guess you kind of feel this, I have to hide because I'm not like everyone else.
And doesn't it tell you?
And I imagine
that
only
they could just
grows.
look at you and just decide they weren't going to wait on you. Like, how horrible to have grown up in such a revolting environment that you think that is acceptable ever.
But picture this. Steve Levy and I went to a bar in New York City. So this is one of the most diverse. Yeah. Yep. We went to a bar. I walked into the women's restroom and someone told me I was in the wrong restroom.
I don't get it because you're so female to me.
And would not.
Wow.
But he would not back down that I was not in the right place. And Steve was like on his way. But imagine if I had been alone. I have been alone. I've been ripped out of a bathroom by a bartender in New Orleans. How do you just exist like that? How do you not become scared?
So really, we have to
work.
It's a bigger picture than just work, isn't it?
Our whole experience as gay people, I think we take that to work. And so many people show no consideration for what our life has looked like up to that point in our stories, because we don't always look like our stories, right? You wouldn't look at me and say, oh, you grew up in a military family with 2 accountants as parents in the South. You just wouldn't get, or Balazs, like, you have 2 beautiful children, and people wouldn't know your whole story and your background in art, or case study, all of us. You don't look at us and know our story.
So what do we do? Do we just do what we're doing? Do we create this? Do we like set a challenge? We're going to start this hashtag. I can't remember what your hashtag was. I've lost it. It's up the stream. I'm all emotional. But do we go out there and put our video out there? Like, I'm boldly different because? Do we actually challenge everyone we know to do this? Do we?
I'm boldly different.
I am boldly different. Do we do this? Do we, like, I've started my Be Human and it's going insanely nuts. Do we need a new one?
What I would love. So I think, with KK we started the discussion. So maybe what we can do is that it would be lovely. We can buy the domain like imboldlyfriend.com or .whatever, and then we can spreading the story. So we just make like pretty quick like staff recording, and we just put it there. And then it doesn't have to be any complicated website. It's like, I think we called it a sculpture. Was that a digital sculpture? That was the name, like digital sculpture.
Yeah, so that's what we talked about. Yeah,
it's just a memorandum. It's just like a memory site. It's just like, we just send out for something. You don't need math. Nothing. Nothing. It's just like that. And it's just like when you go to in the US, to a military cemetery, and it's the same tomb is the name in English, tomb, like million times, when you look around, like at the end of the movie Hair.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. It's like, I mean, either it would be amazing to see like hundreds or maybe thousands of like mini clips, video clips, people talking about why they are different.
And whatever,
we can do that.
Like whatever, because we all have our
whatever and whatever. Correct.
Applying. Oh my God, I love you. Oh, you're the best.
Those stories are I think they are going to be what give us the chance to change, because it'll give people empathy for our history that they will never know unless they attend a conversation like this, or come to us and talk to us. People are so scared to ask us about what hurts and what's hard.
Yeah. So, wow.
That's what,
Well, we started, we got emotional, and we came up with a plan. I feel really good about this show. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm still going to get off the show and have a cry. Full blown. You guys are killing me. All right.
I just so appreciate this.
No, that was
like, I have to tell you, I have so much respect for you as a human. And I'm so glad that you came and did this show with us. And I'm glad I got to be here today because I'm proud of who you are. And I love that privately, he and I have had these conversations before. And I think it's brave and honorable of you to step out in your company and to be bold and to share your story and to build spaces for other people. So thank you.
I thank you, really. And I just want to close with this. Just one thought that I was afraid to come, really. I mean, I felt the nerve yesterday. I chatted you. I said like,
I knew you
just like that.
And it wasn't happening.
Correct. Yeah, sort of like that. But every time when I talk about it, and every time when I when I come out or when I say like, yeah, this is me, I always feel the power, right? Well, okay, I'm with good company, right? And I didn't check the chat, so if someone was if we had a troll, then I just didn't read that yet. So
there is no troll. Nobody has not been supportive, and they wouldn't be on this show if they were unsupportive. That's not what I attract to this show.
The Katrinas would boot them.
Yeah, no, but the thing is that also I just think that again we've started something here, and I hope it is born from this show, and that would just awe me forever. And I will completely. You guys know I have a past as well, so damn well it's a safe space, and I just think that's what we have to create. We just have to give people that safe space. Quickly before I forget,
I really am going to build that website.
I just need to say who's on next week. Just quickly, sorry, just. Boring,
Please.
So next week we have Danielle Kluge. I'm so excited for her to come on. We actually did start our stalking by Instagram, Adam Gordon. And we've got to know each other on Instagram. I'm super excited to have her on. She's talking about responsive sourcing, which is not what you think. So I'm quite excited about that. And now we can go back to saying Balazs. Thank you. You made me cry last week. You've made me cry this week. Can you not make me cry next week if that's okay? It's ruining my mascara. And I'm really grateful again that I am in your inner fold and that you did tell me as well, like you've done with KK. And just to be brave, I just think, the more we talk about it, the more of the difference it will make. So thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you're not you can go now have a drink and get over the shock of being on the show.
It's a wine time.
It's like 9 o'clock in the morning here. So you both know you set me up for an entire day of being emotional.
No, you call me if you need me, KK. We can get you happy again. Don't worry about it. Yeah, the crybaby episode, no dry eyes. Yeah.
Seriously.
Right, guys. Thank you so much. So much, KK, for stepping in, Balazs for such honesty. I really appreciate it from both of you. So I shall see you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.